All good things must come to an end, and so must the USTCC Virtual Championship. Here on iRacing, they're about to wrap up their real life season once again, so we take it to one more fantastic track, and what an epic place to bring our season finale. It's Virginia International Raceway here. The good old hills of VIR, they provide plenty of up and downhill action. It's the longest and biggest track on our calendar. So there's going to be plenty of difficult corners, some of our strongest drivers to work their way through. Howie Burrows alongside Jeremy Briggs here. Well, from one last time, Jeremy, it is a nice evening to be running through the Virginia hills, do you think?
Absolutely gorgeous day today here in the sim. Look at the beautiful blue skies. These drivers are going to be ripping the hills, like you said, here at Virginia International Speedway. Once again, oval guy, not too familiar with these road courses, but I believe this will be a fast track, and it'll be fun to watch these drivers navigate the turns.
VIR is very, very long, and has got some very difficult corners, the likes of which just get away from you non-stop. It's almost hard to count them all, but it all begins here at turn one. You're going to want to steer a lot through this first section unless you keep your wits under you. So it's very, very worth looking out for the apexes carefully, such as through the NASCAR bend. You do get to go a little bit wide here, and the left hook takes you by surprise very often. Very, very blind and odd apexes on the first few corners of the track. We then run through the snake as we head to turns 5, 5A, and 6. Some little S's. And run down what is one of our straights, but don't get too excited here about your ability to pass up through this S section. Have to keep your foot in it and not plow as you approach the South Bend. One of the highest speed corners on the track, but one where it's very, very easy to just carry a little bit too much speed. Used to be an oak tree around here. That's what the story always says. So they call the turn Oak Tree. Nonetheless, before we run down this epic long back straight. Technically, according to the official count, there's actually 3 turns down this straight, but this is where you're going to pass people. This is where all of my dreams of this car's draft mod are finally going to come true, because this is one of the longest straights we've had on the entire calendar. It feels like it doesn't end, but literally, blindly uphill, you have the roller coaster. It comes to you out of nowhere. You have to not lock the brakes, not go wide, get over the elevation change hump on the other side, and then roll it all the way back down to the right-hand hog pen, which is on a scary elevation change off the back. The whole track is quite the journey and quite the challenge. This is obviously one of those other free iRacing tracks that I didn't understand for a long time when I drove on Forza, and I finally got my hands on and started to get a grasp on in iRacing. They very much did just take a plow and just send it through Virginia without really much rhyme or reason. But to be honest, it is an absolute joy. I really, really enjoy running it, and it's going to be a real challenge in these edgy cars.
Yes, Howie, watching that lap, you said it, there's a few places on the track where you can go off track, and right now during qualifying that can disqualify your lap, so you got to manage how you go off the track and how you're continue that with that speed. And as you can see, these drivers having to manage those turns. There's a tight bend there when you're going downhill, and lots of that braking. You can really upset the car and get, like you said, that plowing sensation when you're trying to just carry momentum, especially when you got to get to these long straightaways. You want to make sure you're on the gas early, and if you're not on that gas early, somebody will pass you. We'll take a look at these points.
Well, at the end of this, we're going to be wishing Thomas Pitre, congratulating him on a season well fought, as there's not enough points on offer here for anyone to take this from him, and many of the slower drivers didn't even show up here today. We've got quite a small grid, but it's a grid of the best drivers that we've had so far. So I expect them to race well, although I've noticed Nick Dawson-Latham in practice wasn't quite able to get a time really in the same ballpark as this top two. They may get to battle and trade places though, because if you can stick with another car throughout this track, you'll get a big reward down the back straight, given the car's quite old drafting model. Lap's going to be around 2 minutes, and our first one, Thomas J. Pitre, is over the line, a 1:58.2. Nick Dawson-Lavin was off track on his warm-up lap. I wonder if he's managed to get one in the books, and Tom Petrie will be right after him. Here's Nick Dawson. It's a long run. You're going to be seeing drag races to the line, quite possibly. It's a 1:59.2. He's a second back. Tom Petrie has had a fun season. He struggled to quite make the measure of the lap times. He's actually quite close to Nick. He's closer to Nick than Nick is to his rival up in P1. David Brown and Austin Rahn yet to finish laps on the board. David Brown actually slices the field in two. That is unusual. Austin Rahn's lap not legal. He's going to need to try another. You do get 4 attempts around here, but actually we might see drivers start to run out of time because this is a really, really long track.
Oh, yeah, I'm not too familiar with these cars. Do they get better as they put laps on these tires? Is there like a sweet spot, or is these kind of like one lap hero laps for these cars?
Certainly not raced them quite enough in long races in my time, but they are resilient enough, certainly. They're certainly resilient enough to take a full race distance here. So, on the grand scheme of things, I expect all 4 laps to be pretty competitive on the board. They are fairly old road tyres in iRacing. It's quite difficult to wear them, and the car's got enough grip that you're not going to be sliding them all over the place 24/7. I think we will see improvements out of the other drivers, but I'm most interested here in whether Austin can actually set a better time. Here's Thomas Petrie over the line now. We'll see if he gets an improvement. It was a 1:58.254 last time. It's a 1:57.678, so that's possibly a good answer to your question. That is a very, very fast lap. Next up, Nick Dawson-Lavin. Now he's got even more time to make up on the field, actually. 2 seconds to gain, or that is seconds to gain all over the track. A few vital corners where exit speed will give you absolutely everything. Nick crosses the line second. Eventually, it's quite a far distance down. I actually don't know if that lap counted. No, it did count. It was slower. And we've not seen an improvement out of the 5 either. Here comes David Brown. I'm going to turn up the engine volume on the stream here in these things, just so you can all hear them roll on by. There's a slight improvement, actually. Slight improvement on the books. The real one's Austin Rahn, though. He does finally get one in. He is more than a second slow so far. Thomas Petrie just wants to run laps on the field. Why not? Why not wrap up a day like that?
It's going to look easy in that number 56 Kia. Looks like we might actually have a pretty decent battle here with those 3 cars there towards the tail end there in the top 5, as David Brown, Dawson, Lathan, and Petrie honestly pretty close in times, and they'll have a half an hour to figure it out.
Here's an on board all the way up the hill and back down in a car without ABS. This is a scary turn. Thankfully, his speeds aren't too high, and I actually hear Thomas Petrie on the engine rolling off the power before the braking zone to make that easy. He's driving smooth. He is not forcing his car to do anything uncomfortable. In fact, that's probably because he's running a lap that's 6 seconds slow on his last one right now. I think he knows how in the bag this is. He might have gotten an off-track excursion last time, and he's actually cruising to the line well off racing pace. Let's see if we can get one more on-board lap, though. Maybe at full tilt this time around from our pole sitter.
Just over 140, I believe, is what I saw there on the speedometer.
Those rear tyres, they lost traction a little bit entering the turn. They're going to be doing that with the brake bias set so far back. You have to really jab on the brakes through some of these turns. It's brutal.
Yeah, with that front-wheel drive machine, you got to kind of the rear tires. They're just dragging there, so you want to kind of help kick those out, help shift the balance of the vehicle with shifting that brake bias to the rear, and as you're applying the brakes, it'll help the rear of the car come around the turn with you.
Now, most cars make absolute easy work of these uphill S's, but I actually do wonder if you need to lift for the last one in this car. You actually do need to lift for the last one and get on the brake and downshift into that turn. That's not very usual. That slowdown to me indicates that Thomas Petrie probably just overcooked it badly and has decided to end his qualifying lap. Let's take a look from above and see if we can spot the mistake.
Right there to the S's. Oh, that little right-hander, maybe?
That's a grass cut
no,
right
right
down
there.
the inside. So
Yep.
Thomas Pitre, he does have our fastest lap so far, but he's decided he's done trying to run laps. That is a brutal, brutal corner. Here is Austin Rahn trying much the same thing. This will be one of his last attempts. I think he might be allowed to get away with all those, actually. We'll see how he takes the next turn. He's kept it within all 4 on the track.
Boundaries are tight when you get to those curbs. Once your tires go over those curbs, onto that grass, that's when you can acquire those penalties. There is some turns, though, like you said, you just saw right there, where you can go off the track just a little bit, but there is obviously just a boundary at some point.
So there's this wonderful U-turn right here. We're not racing on this layout, but you can see there's just an escape road there. I like to bring it up just because this is the one time in the iRacing year I get to say the word on stream, and Jeff Maconi can't get me in trouble. They call that horrible U-turn, if you want to do the full layout, bitch corner, because it's not a fun corner and everyone hates it. And it's literally just built that name in. It's very uncommonly race layout on now, the internal infield course, because it's pretty terrible. But oftentimes, if you want to shorten the track, you'll run the first portion. There's a fast sort of sweeping uphill S's section. I'm happy we're doing the whole thing. You get the long straight. Austin Rahn, not faster, by the way. So, and the lap was also invalid, probably more ways than one. So most drivers, mostly done. Wonder if there's anyone else. Nick Dawson-Latham just sitting here in the pits. And am I the one holding the session back from moving on? I better not be. I better not be. What do we get to look at in this time if no one's running? Please give us someone. Yes, Austin Rahn, just give us more laps. I respect Austin Rahn's dedication to giving us more laps. Somehow, you may notice, I thought I set enough mirrors for this car in my replay settings. You see the left mirror, you see the right mirror, the middle mirror has gone completely unaccounted for.
Oh no.
So, usually, iRacing would cut off the one on the other side. I can fix this. You're going to have to deal with this horrible thing appearing on the screen for a second. That's my wheel. I'm not plugging in my wheel to make this show work. Let's turn that up one and see what happens. If it takes down my whole PC, then so be it. We get his helmet. That's a thrill. And he's lagging out on the track while he's at it. What a great way to wrap up the season. We've discovered new things about ourselves and the limits of iRacing. Austin Rahn is trying to get more practice on the board. He might need it if he wants to catch his own old teammate. Only 5 drivers have made it today to the show, but they have been 5 of the fastest drivers we've had, and I think they can race closely around here if they can keep that car under. It really does just show the helmet. You know, my CPU is now using more electricity to show you the helmet, but it just looked wrong any other way. So that's how it has to be.
Trying to keep this as realistic as we can, right, Howie? And sometimes the CPU might have to struggle a little bit there.
In my driving settings, no mirrors. Yeah, I don't need them. But
same here.
I've discovered that when you're broadcasting, probably black mirrors aren't the greatest look in the world. Just 2 minutes ago, Austin Rahn's going to run down this qualifying session, I have the feeling. So we're just going to get one more lap of this track. Lap's going down to 158 on the road, so he will quite literally get across the line, and then we'll be done. And there's not even tracking the time, so we don't even know how fast it is. So I think now it's time to dig into the treasure trove of track fun facts that you have to do when you need time. 1957, made using a bulldozer. I've heard people say, as a joke, oh, it seems like 2 people just drove around Virginia with a bulldozer to make this track. It's because they literally did. They literally just did it. That's how it went.
There must have been a long stretch in that bulldozer down that back stretch, just driving and driving and driving. Must, you know, thinking about the speed of these Kias out here, how long it must have taken a bulldozer to get around here.
Wonder if they did it in parts where they did the whole thing. I'm also seeing there is apparently a version of the track with a chicane down that back straight. If in case you just sort of like hate the drivers and you want them to suffer. There's a full Grand West layout that uses the internal, and the only time you really see it is during the Production Car Challenge special event, of course, which is a lot of fun, but they really do just decide to throw us for a loop by giving us the weird infield. Made free in iRacing after a graphical revamp in my off years when I was on the sim in the after COVID, left for a few years, came back, and I was like, oh, it's that track from Forza that hurt me so much. And actually, it turns out I got really used to it, and now I love it every time it shows up. IMSA, I believe, does have a business here, although they don't quite bring the GTPs. iRacing does, and it's a thrill every time they bring the GTPs in, let me tell you that. 5 seconds over the line, and we're going to start grinning. 5 cars on the track. As a reminder, your grid is Thomas Pitre, Austin Rahn, David Brown, Nick Dawson-Latham, and Tom Pitre. That's 5 cars. I had to join the session again because something weird has broken with hosted lobbies recently. It happens sometimes. So I technically will be taking space on the field, and I will probably be spending time wasting the field's time in this 2-minute warm-up, but it be like that sometimes. So it will be a 30-minute race. 16 laps with a rolling start once everybody has gridded and is ready to go.
"16 laps here tonight, roughly. That is going to be the challenge. Trying to get around here for this evening. Patience, trying to keep your car on the track, not overdriving it. We saw those qualifying times close. We'll see if they can keep those times better on the longer part of the run and see how it pans out for those 4 drivers trying to catch that number 56.
Thomas may just end up running away, but you're very right in identifying a battle around the middle. I think drivers are quite a lot closer near the middle than I'm particularly used to. Do have the pace car here today, so I can show you the internals of the Porsche pace car, which you don't get to see very often, and eventually its engine note, which is quite literally the Porsche engine note. I just like to shout it out to people. This is one of the cool ones. This is one of the cool cars out there. About 40 seconds until we get on going. Indeed, Thomas has clinched that championship just by appearing. Drivers are going to be looking forward to racing in the real life championship, which is like starting soon. I'm going to have to go look this up though, in order to seem like I know what I'm doing here on this late evening.
I was just going to ask you, Holly. Yeah, when's opening day for these drivers in real life?
How about tomorrow at Summit Point in the East Series?
Oh yeah,
March 28th to 29th at Summit Point Motorsports Park. They'll also be racing in April at Button Willow Raceway. They'll be racing here May 2nd to 3rd. No, it's Sonoma May 3rd to 24th. And again on June 6th to 7th. New Jersey Motorsport Park on June 27th, 28th. Sonoma again on July 11th to 12th. And Thunderhill on September 5th to 7th. Then it says Watkins Glen on that site, but that looks like a track in Pittsburgh. I'm going to believe the description and say that's Watkins Glen. They'll also have visits to...
If they're coming to Watkins Glen, I'll go.
They'll also have visits to Laguna Seca and New Jersey Motorsports Park as well.
Nice. If they end up at Watkins Glen, I'll definitely have to check it out, Holly.
The picture on the site is not Watkins Glen, but they link to Watkins Glen, and I'm going to presume that that's how that goes. An affordable touring car racing series, very much a bring your own series, but sort of stuff that even if I will never really truly get a chance to watch in my home country, I'm very used to series like it, and I very much respect the people that bring their cars to them. It's always a lot of fun to watch alongside other events. Here we go. Across the line for the last time this season. How much of a lead can Thomas Pitre jump on the field when it's a very long hold here? Drivers can go whenever they feel like it, but we're going to wait for the green. Here comes Thomas Pitre off the line. Austin Rahn staying alongside for now. Nick Dawson-Latham's got the jump on David Brown entering turn 1. Here comes turn 1. It's one that requires you to run quite deep. I reckon the inside line will have a good advantage. That 12 with David Brown almost gets alongside Austin Rahn. In the meantime, Nick Dawson-Latham struggles for pace. Mostly single file. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nick's quite close to the rear here though of David. Very close. Not usually used to seeing one get actually a tiny dent in the front already caused by that little bump. This is a very sensitive little car on the front. He's backed it off shouldn't affect him too much. Still running clean single file up the hill. I'm curious what will happen down the back straight.
Lots of opportunity to get that draft if you're within the distance of that driver in front of you. Got to hit these S's just right. Try to carry that momentum up this hill, kind of blind, and then you go to his left-hander back to the right down this hill.
Nick Dawson-Lavin's creeping quite close to David Brown here. Creeping. I think he is the driver that is most likely to make a good move down there. Now, I always tell people that this car is a little bit more reactive to draft than a typical iRacing release. It's time for me to either be vindicated or never say those words ever again, because this is a very, very long straight, and Nick Dawson-Lavin is gaining ground. I can confirm that to you. Just bit by bit, though. It's unlikely that he's able to get a pass together, but he did certainly gain half a tenth, and that's good enough for me. Stays close. It's quite easy to stick with another car if you're able to stay close enough on that straight. You're able to sort of make up any time you may have lost, and that battle may escalate down the line. Thomas Pietro is running away because all he wants to do is claim this win and then say he won a virtual series. And who wouldn't, quite frankly, on to lap 2.
As we ride on board here with Nick Dawson-Lathan, right there, 148, 49, 150 down the straight. Look at heavy braking in there, trying to do as much gain on the brakes as he can. Look at that, turning that wheel cranked to the right, trying to keep that gain that he had into the turn on exit. Not able to just right there, because you can see the David Brown machine pulling away just a little bit there on exit. Still tight battle here. Dawson-Lathan trying to execute a move. Just in front of them, Austin Run not getting away too much. Honestly, still pretty close.
Now that we have that window in the mirror, I can actually spot the little symbol of Nick Dawson-Lavin's helmet. And of course I can, because he's already got one of the signals on the side of his car that he would. That little green and yellow symbol, Japanese learner drivers put on their car to say they're new to driving, like it's sort of like a rookie's badge. And that's actually sitting there on his helmet, and I'm absolutely certain, given the side of his car, that is what he's running on there. Bit of touches onto the grass. Probably every driver got an off track there. Now Nick's going to remain in touch about... Oh, he's lost a lot of time in that second half of that turn. It's sort of like one long turn with one single radius, even though it looks like it's 2 turns. You have to treat it like it's a long one and maximize your exit speed. And you can see on the tower he is gaining by just little inches. That might be able to keep him close enough. You know, we're not doing entire day good night slingshot engage here, but there's certainly ground to be made up there. And if you can get even an inch in, it becomes very, very precarious under braking.
As we watch these two drivers here in third and fourth battle out there, you can see Tom Pitre there in fifth in the number 5. Still just tagging along there, collecting laps and experience. As you can see, Thomas Pitre is up at the lead with Austin Ron still within striking distance, but almost a second back now.
Fastest lap on the board, it's Austin Ron. He's faster last time around by 3 tenths. It's a 1:57.7 versus a 1:58.0. So maybe not totally over. I do think if your lap is pretty much evens, then you'll gain just enough on that straight that you'll have a faster lap in total. Keeping an eye on Nick, though, because I do feel like this battle will continue raging on for about the entire length of the race, in fact. Gonna have plenty of laps here to run through, but they will fly by sooner than you could ever imagine. And Nick Dawson is close enough that this time a good exit entering that straight could do good things for him. It wasn't easy for him last time, though.
Yes, how he struggled on that exit last time around. Right there, about 2 car lengths back in that red machine, trying to break it in just a little bit deeper. Not there just yet. A couple more opportunities. Like you said, this battle is probably going to play out for the next 24.5 minutes. See if Dawson-Lathan can make it happen. Austin Ron right there, just up in the distance of those two drivers. You know, if Dawson-Lathan, ends up being just a little bit faster, they may be able to catch Austin Ron. But like you said, the tires don't degrade that much with this model. So right now, the driver is just trying to stay on track and put down those smooth laps.
Nick just loses time in the same turn again. and then he gains a lot of it back through the roller coaster and back portion of the track. So it's becoming a bit of a rubber band here, where the same portion, unfortunately, it's the single most important part of the track that you don't want to mess up. So yet again, on the back foot, and in fact he's just dropped time over the course of the lap. He's not made it back properly this time, and when they both cross the line, you'll see that the overall lap has been slower, 158.3 versus a 158.6. Little things like that are going to see you dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping over time. Austin Run, though, I actually do think is crawling just that little bit closer. I can almost hit a little Jaws theme in his head, because there are plenty of times on this track where he's staying within enough range. Now he has to make up the ground, though. That's going to be trickier.
Getting there is one thing, passing is another. Especially on a track like this, consistency matters. These drivers need to be cutting those corners, but not cutting them too much, keeping the momentum up, especially when you get to these long straightaways. Two of them particularly, momentum is key, especially when you get to those exits. Austin Ron falling back just a little bit. We're right on board here with David Brown. You can see right there in his rear view mirror, tons of that red machine of Dawson Layton. The 00 doing really good on entries and just struggling a little bit on exits.
This is the closest Dawson's ever gotten, though. 3 attempts on the first sector. If he stays within about 4 here, he's good to make the run. He's managed to make the exit that turn decently well. Don't see the pass on the table this time, but he's not dropped time. He's made back all of that disadvantage that he made up last lap, and he'll probably be able to hold it and have a faster one than his rival. Meanwhile, I'm watching the gap with Austin Ryan again, because he's actually creeping up. 6 tenths last lap, and that half a second this lap. At the greatest point there was about 4 tenths. He's remaining close. This is the closest Nick's ever been out of that straight, but it's still not close enough to challenge side by side. You have to be brave on the brakes over that hill if you want to make it happen, but I'm keeping an eye on him. He's now the closest he's been, and he's going to want that last chance for an interview. David Brown's going to want his first, though.
Nothing beats coming on the broadcast here with Maconi Entertainment and getting an opportunity to shout out to your supporters and your sponsors that make it happen for you each and every week. And like you said, out there battling it for the podium. Look at that, all over his back bumper now is Nick Dawson Latham, trying to give the pressure to David Brown in that green number 12 machine as we go through the S's, just trying to keep that momentum up.
I believe I've actually found David Brown's entry in the USGCC. Hyundai Genesis Coupe, looks like a nice one. I think that must be the guy. He's marked as Dave Brown, but unless there's 2 Dave Browns, in which case I will be told very harshly after the day. But actually, I got the wrong one. Nick Dawson's ready to go. This is a scary place to do it, but he had such a big game. Oh, that's why it's a scary place to do it. Keep it locked on the power. That's incredible save and recovery there. Had the instinct to keep it in the power down while losing grip, but now it's going to be a side-by-side. He's going to have to give up this place and try and drag race it down the straight.
For a second there, I thought David Brown was giving him the position, but no, David Brown was just trying to make the turn. As you can see there, Nick Dawson Latham just sent it. Unfortunately, it did not stick. It had to drive it out of the grass. Still within 2 tenths. You can see that number right there. Slowly creeping in as he can get another passing opportunity. Here he goes.
This time there's enough for it. It's hard to make it stick, though. You get the outside here, so you really need to beat them under braking and force your opponent to back out. Couldn't this time, but this time the opportunity is so much there that I see Nick making the move again soon. Now in a second I'm going to get ourselves a nice shot of what just happened over the S's, but I obviously want to wait to see if a pass gets made up here, because he's going for it again straight away.
Dawson Latham, David Brown, side by side, coming to turn 1. Who's going to outbrake who? Man, they're side by side. Even Latham just squeezing out. Oh, gets into the grass.
Well, that understeer is going to cost him big time. That's a second's worth of time. And that's almost giving up everything that he just had. Now let's take a look at his run through those S's, because that was some exciting stuff. This is a little bit far back, but we'll take it. You know, it gives us time to settle into the moment, relax, and feel it with each other together. I'm curious to how he got that jump. I think he just didn't really brake through that turn, so he already had a good advantage. Tucks in, just get us a little bit of that draft on this car. Told you it was real. I was never making it up. Keeps it braver on the inside, but so brave on the inside, he's going to understeer on the way out. Now that car just went forwards, magically almost, and that is the nature of the front-wheel drive machinery, of course. To make it go forwards, you put more gas into it. The front wheels are driving it, they'll point you in the right direction. Amazing counter-steer, though. Amazing counter-steer.
Immaculate save, very impressive. You could see David Brown was just kind of backing up, going to give him the turn, and Dawson Latham was trying to make it stick. And off the road he went right here. You can see left, right. Oh man, look at that counter steer right there, trying to get it back on track. Then it grips, trying to keep the gas in it, keeping it going straight.
That was an epic moment. It's one. It was great to see alive, but it's even better to see on board. He's going to have a gap to make up now, though, but don't call him out of it because he went from a second to 7/10. So he's just going to sort of work his way back to where he last was, which it's going to take him a short while, but certainly not impossible because he's been fast. He's been faster, I would say, but it's being faster and getting the lap done are separate things.
I don't know if Dawson Latham was watching the broadcast right there, but I was critiquing his driving earlier and said he was struggling on the exits, and now that seems to be his strong suit, is the exits. Great straightaway speed, puts himself within 3/10 here. David Brown trying to just stalk his prey, get ready for the opportunity to pounce. We get to a great passing opportunity.
They're close again, 5/10, otherwise known as half a second in normal English. Both sides of the pond make it 4/10 though. He's running it close. He's not going to try and make the same move he made last time, but he might be close enough to make a big push here as they run up through the S's up the hill.
Ironically enough, Howard, we call it a half a second when it's the 5/10, but then we don't call it a quarter second, we call it 2/10, so I don't know.
I mean, if it's 2.5, you can call it a quarter second. You can. I wouldn't consider it unusual. But when you're that close at that point that a pass is very likely, so you don't really get enough time to ruminate on it. That's my theory, at the very, very least. Poor second sector, though, for Nick Dawson-Levin. It's going to mean he's going to have to earn this back next time around. You can see that gap was meaningfully significant, but we see weaving from David Brown further ahead on the track because he actually knows about the runs you get just by being near another car right now here.
Wheeling these machines, putting on a great show for this broadcast here. This has been a great battle all race long here. We're about halfway through this race here. 16 minutes left to go of this 30-minute event.
Worth shouting out as they'll be beginning very much next week that you can catch the US Touring Car Championships live races on the YouTube channel, Final Drive TV. That's where they'll be doing their real races, and there should be one kicking off over the next weekend. So that's the channel you can subscribe to on YouTube to follow their racing. Apparently they're also on PowerTube TV on a variety of streaming platforms. They claim they are the oldest running professional racing series in the US. I don't know my US racing history, but you know, you make a claim. I am obligated to say that's an impressive statistic along the way. Obviously for West and an East season, so it's a new season opener for West, of course, at Button Willow Raceway. Kicking off there in April. It's going to be an exciting run. Got quite a big variety of cars, and they actually they stick them with aerodynamic ground effect and hand-cooked tyres on these sort of base models with some slightly modified engines. You know, I am repeating what they do, but they probably do want the publicity, and it does sound like a very, very fun series. Here comes Nick Dawson-Levin one more time. 4/10. He's close this time. Evens out. Now he's gaining. Not going to be able to truly make the move. You can see that David Brown's reacting. He's choosing a place on the track to defend from here because he knows that you might be forced to defend, and he is actually weaving to try and break a toe just a little. Nick will be back. Nick feels like he's inevitable here. It feels like he is going to strike at one point.
Nick's doing everything he can to try to stay within that striking range. He's been there. He just gets a almost. I think he's overdriving the turns just a touch here and there. And that kind of kills his momentum. But when he gets back there, like right now he's down to 4/10 and he's gaining down the straightaways.
2 attempts now. Oh, we could do something. He could do something crazy into the next few corners if he felt like exciting us right now. I feel like he's close enough that if David Brown makes a mistake, Nick's going to dive for it up the inside. However, he feels necessary. Probably a little bit spooked after his off-track excursion. Doesn't necessarily want to do that one again. But also, why not throw yourself in? That's all I'm going to say. You miss every shot you don't take. Here he comes. Running up behind. He's close right now as we get the static cam here under the bridge. And you can see that Nick wants to pounce like a shark right now. Under that quarter of a second margin. The gap hasn't been made available to him. If he gets the exit he wants out of those turns leading to the back straight, it's all over.
Let's give credit to David Brown here. He is just a little bit slower, but doing a really good job of not making any mistakes, being able to keep Dawson Lathan behind him here, lap after lap here for these, 17 minutes that we've been racing.
Yeah, and again, he has it again out of the exit of the turn. He doesn't need to then worry for another lap. So he generally right now has a pattern that has been working and might just continue working here throughout the run, because it does just seem like Nick's faster in some places, but can he actually make the pass happen? That's fundamentally a challenge, and I've not believed it.
Back up front real quick. Thomas Pitre still leads the way, 8/10 over Austin Ron, his teammate. The time winding down. Now just under 12 minutes. These two drivers, Austin's still within striking range. Thomas, he's really smooth, really good at this, and I'm not sure if he's feeling any pressure, but it's not going away.
Certainly he's been kept honest around there, I'll tell you that. Certainly has absolutely, has to have good laps, because he's within a sort of gap where bad mistake and Austin Rahn takes it. The walls for a lot of this track are quite far out, I say, as we look at the one part with the close walls, but there's plenty of grass. But plenty of grass also means you can lose control pretty badly. Dawson Lathan's going to try the same thing he's tried every single lap, and that is leverage the good start this lap in order to try and get a good run down the straight. But he's always struggled in the same place. It's been very, very much the same story. Very aggressive, but David Brown has been incredibly defensive today. I've not really seen a performance like this out of him across the whole series. Now the long back stretch awaits. Not a bad exit for Nick Dawson Lathan this time. I don't think he'll be able to get alongside, but every lap he gets a exit that's good is one that he'll be able to keep the battle going on.
Able to cut it within 3/10 on the entry to this turn. Really do some over braking, trying to get there to his bumper. This has been his best. He's got a really good entry to that turn. He kind of loses a little bit right here through this part of the section. I think when he gets to this right-hander, it kind of washes out on him a little bit. Did a good job that time, though.
While we're shouting things out, I've seen Rookie Racing on the side of Nick Dawson Lathan's car. It's a esports and racing brand he has run for many, many years now. I've seen posts go back as early as 2010 every time I've looked. There's a name you can look up. You can find those socials. Look, I am the kind of crazy person that is fundamentally quite partial to anime characters on cars, and if he hears that, just know, send me a message anytime. You got me. Rookie Esports on the side of that car, one of the only custom designs up front. I did try asking about that race team up front, because obviously they have like a custom design. and I was rebuked with, oh, okay, we don't really do much anymore on the team. We just had the design. And I was like, well, I definitely tried to get more information about the team between the two of you. You cannot fault me for trying. That did indeed happen, but they can continue their domination up front. Thomas Fitre can enjoy his little championship in this mostly fun series, but you know, drivers have been competitive. They've been trying to beat each other out. We are starting to run out of laps. We have about 5 to go, and Nick Dawson-Leven's not actually ended up past David E. Brown at any point. Still just going bit by bit by bit here.
Austin Ron, he's kind of falling off a little bit here in front of these guys. Now 3 seconds back. Not sure if he made a couple back-to-back mistakes, but he's doing a good job for the majority part of this race, keeping it within 1 second. I'm not sure these drivers right here would ever catch him, but you know, a big mistake could definitely put him in jeopardy of losing 2 more spots.
The time flies. He's running out of it, and he's running out of chances right now to make this move really, really happen. But remaining locked in, Nick Dawson-Leven trying to get that lot. I mean, we might just talk to the whole top 4 no matter what, because they deserve it after a whole season. So, might get a chance to do that, but Nick Dawson-Leven wants another podium. He wants to say he's been the 3rd best, and he's still being beaten out. Tries to go around the outside. Lots of marbles on the outside of that turn, by the way. They did have a long practice, so they did get to run laps and stick marbles down there on the track. He just seems close, seems close, seems close. It just seemed to evaporate at a similar spot every time on the circuit. But I feel like I can feel desperation just rising.
Got to give Nick lots of credit too for this great respectful driving. He knows he could just do a little bit of bumper action and just get around him, but he's trying to do the best thing he can, and that's just pass him clean. You know, we're out here just having fun, hard racing, and it's really tight right here. Here we go, high speed turns.
Just keep it planted, keep your foot in it throughout. He slides, those tyres really slid through the turn. Now 3 attempts entering, let's see what it's like exiting. You have to take this as one long corner rather than thinking about it like it's 2. Apex it sort of around the middle and then come out. That was an excellent take of that. He's lost nothing whatsoever, and now it's just gonna be crawling and crawling up. There could be good enough of a run here actually to force the issue this lap. Depends on how good David E. Brown's weaving is, because now it's been a 10th and a half. Just not quite there.
Corner. This is Nick's best corner. He said just wasn't close enough to make it happen. Time is winding down. Final 6 minutes. Ken Dawson-Lathan, who's, like we said earlier in the broadcast, was going to be battling out here with David Brown. He made a small mistake. Now he's battled back now over his back bumper, but David Brown doing a great job of, I wouldn't say defensive driving, but doing a good job of just keeping it smooth. Here we go.
He's close enough, but the outside's going to hurt here. If you can stay here, it helps you out, but those marbles have just completely killed Nick's pace there. He just seemed to lose all traction on the outside. Didn't slide, but more just stalled out and sputtered and broke. But that's a mistake up ahead. That's a big one, and that is not a great time for David Brown to go wide.
David Brown with his first mistake here in this battle. That was exactly what Nick Dawson-Lathan needed, and he takes a spot podium right now for that 0-0.
Top 3 is in place, but David Brown certainly hasn't been slow across many of these laps. And you know, the place he's been consistently fastest has been the one place you want to be fast to run down the straight. So I'm incredibly curious as to whether David Brown will be able to make it happen back. He feels like both drivers have their favourite parts of the track, and over the course of a lap, that's evened out. Here comes David Brown. Oh, that's really, really poor for Nick, and that's out wide. The place given back up again.
Oh, man. Dawson-Lathan once again puts all that work in. Going to have about 2 laps left here to make it happen. And this is honestly a really great battle between these drivers. one making a mistake that hadn't made a mistake just yet, made the pass, but then unfortunately Dawson Lathan with another just costly mistake here for his drive, and gotta try to make it happen now. Will he use a bumper?
You don't want to use the bumper at the end of a long, fun series, I'll tell you that. I mean, like, touring cars can get physical, but I would rank it as a time and a place. Let's try and work out both of these mistakes. So I believe David Brown making the first big one here that gives up the position. Actually saw Nick Dawson-Lathan go wide, but it doesn't really matter because that's just not getting enough bite into the turn, and that's going to sort of give the place up on board here.
Oh, we got a battle side by side.
We're going to deal with that one in a second. I can tell you it's there. We'll get back there. Running out wide. That's tough. Now, here's what we just got on the track, by the way, running down the straight. Here's why you never look at a replay ever, because it actually turns out Dawson-Lathan was back in it once again. Trying to stick it to the outside here, entering turn one. It does seem to be like he's been trying that more and more and more as the laps have run out. Gets it side by side. Momentum's going to just about stall, though, on the marbles. We're going to go back live, though, because it does seem clear that this isn't being given up. Dare I think it's being given up. Not for a second.
What a battle. You would have thought these drivers right here were battling for the race lead. This is great racing here, Howie, and David Brown, Nick Dawson-Lathan, great racing here. And the final 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Who's going to be mistake-free? Who's going to be able to keep themselves out front? Get that podium position here.
Don't know if it's going to be on this straight, but it's getting more and more aggressive with it, getting more and more feisty with it. It's trying to make more and more spots on the track work. Trying to keep an eye on how many laps there are to go. It will be 2 to go over the line because we've been doing 1 minute 59s and that's 2 minutes 11. That's quite clear. We're going to get 2 to go here on the track, so 2 more attempts. Any slower, and that would have made it into a white flag instead.
Right on the edge of being that final lap, but that's good news for Nick Dawson-Lathan. That means he's got 2 more trips around this track here to make this pass happen once again and hopefully keep himself in that position number 3. But David Brown doing a great job protecting that right side to not let Nick get there. But Nick's all over his back bumper, putting the pressure on as they get ready to come up to these high-speed S-turns here shortly.
Two more attempts. Crawling ever closer. Now backs off, though. Oh, Nick Dawson-Lathan, not a fantastic line through there, but he's made up for it again. That 3 attempts bubble is going to be good, and I think that's been a very, very good exit as we enter the S's. You wouldn't dare actually try and make a move up here, though, would you? Would you? Gets blocked to the outside. Definitely thought about it. David Brown had to hold that off. David Brown's braking a bit more than usual going up the hill. Forces a checkup from the 00. Both sliding their way through that south bend. Can he remain close? He's slower on the entry here, but that might be good for him if he can make the exit really work for him. Put the power down. It was good enough. Let me tell you that. Good enough to go down the straight. Bit of weaving still up ahead, side to side to side. 2 attempts. That's your quarter of a second there. I said it for you. Just have it be known. Left and right. He's getting close. Still held off. There'll be only 1 more shot.
That was one of Nick's best braking corners right there. He does a really good job of just getting it in there. And when it sticks, it's really good. And when it doesn't stick, unfortunately, it definitely kills his momentum. As the white flag is now out on this race, Nick Dawson-Lathan, 1 more trip around this track, 1 more full attempt to get on the podium.
Drives the outside into turn 1 again. I've yet to see a case of this Tron truly working out unless a big mistake is forced, but he's going to run David Brown very, very, very close to the edge of the track, and that's one of the better attempts at that I have seen across this race. I'm glad we've had a really close and exciting one, even if it's not quite for the win. We will congratulate Thomas Pitre over the line, of course, when the time comes. But Nick Dawson-Levin needs to get Levin, who knows? We were doing our own attempts and we're splitting the difference and we're seeing if one of the two lands. 6 attempts up the hill. He's going to need something excellent here. He's sort of lost out quite a bit.
I'm having lots of energy used here in this race here, just talking about it in the broadcast booth. So I'm sure Nick, Dawson, Lathan, and David Brown, they have put a great, phenomenal race here. Lots of mirror driving, lots of just weaving and wobbling and just trying to do the best they can to run their smooth laps. Who's going to finish it out in the podium spot for the final race?
Bit by bit by bit, it's been an absolute roller coaster of a battle between these two. I don't think Nick Dawson-Levin's going to have the ability to get alongside going up the hill, no. Though 5 attempts usually hasn't been the bubble, and I don't want to miss our winner of the season and the final race coming across the line. Thomas Pitre beats out his teammate one last time in dominant fashion. Nick wasn't quite able to get alongside David Brown, a defensive masterclass to hold on to a P3. That was a lot of fun throughout. It's not going to let him get a position over Nick Dawson. Going to finish out 5th in the championship, but he's been racing consistently and he's really won a good day and he's gotten it over the line. It's been a day very much about incident, and you know, you've got to congratulate Tom Pitre for that. Has been running his own pace here today. We've not seen any driver go around on the whole track, and you know, sometimes you've just got to make it to the end. This time there wasn't an incident to take advantage of, but everybody that's made it to the finish line today sure did make it to the finish line. So congratulations, Tom Pitre, alongside the rest here at Virginia International Raceway. Our final results, plus one final time, I decided to photobomb into the championship, because really that's my right to. Thomas Pitre beats out Austin Rahn over David Brown, Nick Dawson-Levin, and Tom Pitre. It's my right as a Brit to race in last place on the grid, you see. This time though, you couldn't make it. So maybe next time, you know, best of luck.
Hopefully Discord is nice to us here tonight.
Hopefully it's nice to us tonight. I mean, I think that was a freak incident yesterday, last week even. Time flies if I'm calling that yesterday. I think it may have been a freak incident though. Like,
yep.
We have some drivers coming in ready for interviews, so let's get it going with our race winner, Thomas Pitre. Thomas, I'm assuming Discord's working well a week later, so welcome in. Congratulations on your championship, of course. It was pretty dominant the whole way, but each race, you had someone breathing down your neck, and this one, I think you were kept honest by your teammate for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. We definitely had the closest lap times here, I think, out of the whole season. And we knew from preseason testing that this track had a pretty big draft. So it was to be expected that he'd be able to keep up like that.
The real season kicking off tomorrow, I believe, at Summit Point. I don't know for any what necessary part of that you are, but I've been trying to follow the schedule and push it any way necessary. Is there anything else that I need to bring up in that regard?
Yeah, so it's been a little while since I've been a part of touring car. But if everything is still the same, there's a East Coast region and a West Coast. So if it's Summit, then that sounds like the East Coast region is kicking off tomorrow. And I don't know the date for the West Coast.
I tried to ask about the team last time and I was told it didn't exist. So that's fine. Is there anything else in the world of racing you're getting up to, and any other thank yous or shout outs?
Yeah, we got to go straight from this into practice for Sebring tomorrow. So that's going to be me and Austin and my dad all racing that. So that should be fun.
Don't talk to me about my Sebring last year. Not a good time. Best of luck there. Congratulations on winning out this championship. Good race and a good result.
Thanks.
Thomas Pietro, and we have Austin Rahn here in P2. We hate to tell him that he couldn't quite catch him, but yet again, he couldn't do it. But Jeremy's with him to ask more.
Yeah, we are here with our P2 finisher, Austin. Man, you actually had a pretty decent race here tonight. We were just talking there to the winner, and like you said, your lap times were a little bit closer here tonight than they have been in the past.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem with Thomas. You can be as fast as he is for a minute, but he's just a robot, man. He doesn't mess up. He doesn't make mistakes. You can't pass him.
Yep, that's exactly it. Like we were talking with those drivers that were battling behind you. Getting there is one thing, and passing is another. And like you said, Thomas just puts those laps down, lap after lap, and you were doing really good there. And you could just tell those last few minutes, it just the wind kind of got knocked out of your sail.
Yeah, well, once the tires start going off the cliff, I mean, you're just kind of nursing it back to the pits by the end of the race. But man, he had a great race. I kept up with him as long as I could, and once the tires were done, I was just trying to make it home.
Well, you made it home in P2 here on the final night. Congratulations on that. Any shout outs before we let you go?
Thank you guys so much. Just appreciate you guys showing up here every week and being such a fun thing for us to go back, and for me to get to watch it afterwards is always a fun thing. So thank you guys.
Appreciate that, Austin. Congratulations, and hopefully we'll see you in the near future.
Thanks, guys.
That's Austin Rahn, which gives us our third place, David Brown. And David, what a race and what a defense you had to put on to hold on to that podium. Full of back and forth, but that was amazing.
Woo! Na 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 na. Podium. Oh yeah. It was a fun race, man. Yeah, Nick left me no breathing room the entire race. So we had a great time.
An absolute throw right down the back straight every time. You're often better on exit entering it, but it often didn't matter because the draft here was so powerful. How scary was that every time?
Yeah, boy, he took a big shot there early on in the race back in the S's, and woo, didn't quite get away with it. So I was, trying to make sure I got a good launch down that back straightaway because I knew he would just do that again as soon as he had a chance. But even with a little bit of a dinged up front end, he was still hanging. And then we both, made our share of mistakes, and thankfully they were about even. So it was a lot of fun.
Are you the Dave Brown listed on the USTCC website in the 52, or is there another doppelganger just like in there?
No, that'd be me.
Okay, so you can talk to us about the championship and your role in it, because some of the other drivers haven't done for quite a while. Feel free to say whatever you need to, whatever you please.
Well, yeah, I've got a few USTCC championships over the years, and it's been a great series, and it's been good to me and a lot of fun to compete in a variety of cars. I mean, I competed in, lightweight front wheel drive cars, heavy, higher horsepower all wheel drive cars. In 2022, ran that Hyundai Genesis rear wheel drive coupe, and all of them are so evenly matched with the balance of power in the series. It's fun. So. And you get, the more of those things, different configurations you drive, the more tools you get in your toolkit. And, certainly use a lot of those tools here, especially with this front wheel drive thing. It's tough to drive. And, but boy, hats off to Thomas and Austin. Those guys just got it figured out how to save the tires and still go really, really fast. Just amazing. Really, really good. Obviously I learned some stuff over the season, was way in the back, and finally found my way up to the podium watching those guys.
Any other thank yous or shout outs after this top three?
Yeah, thanks mostly to Nick for helping coordinate, and the late nights of stressing over the series and making it happen for all of us.
It was fun to be there for the ride. Thank you very much for racing every week.
Thanks for the coverage, guys. It's been fun watching and listening to you guys too.
Now, it is the finale, so it actually feels just about right after a race like that we actually do get to pull in P4. I wish I could talk to the anime fan in the room, but we will take turns, and Jeremy Briz can talk to the other side of that great battle.
We are going to talk to the other side of that battle, and it sounds like the coordinator of this league here tonight. And great racing there between you and David Brown. We had to bring you into this booth, man. You were faster, and like you said, there was mistakes made between both drivers. What more did you need to get into that podium?
About 20 seconds worth of speed, a lot less marbles, a brain cell that might have helped, and a less talented driver that was right in front of me. That all would have culminated in maybe me thinking about getting third again.
David was doing a great job of trying to be as smooth as he could with you putting all that pressure all over his back bumper. Nick, it was fun to cover your guys' battle tonight. The great clean racing you guys put on tonight is going to make for some great coverage when you guys watch that replay.
I'm glad to, help bring some entertainment. The car count was pretty low tonight, so as I'm sitting there qualifying behind David, which, I expect him to be around my pace, I was just hoping, like, I could get to the other two, but marbles on turn one decide that front-wheel drive cars love grass, and I learned that almost the hard way immediately.
Definitely had a big moment there going into turn one, and somehow still able to get back on track and almost sneak out that third place. We saw those Q times where y'all were pretty close there in the mid pack and almost snuck it out. But Nick, any final thoughts on the season? Anything forward into the real life?
Thanks everybody for showing up for the season. Big thank you to Ali, the man who runs the USTCC, and everybody that decided to show up and help us out this year. Big thank you to you guys. I would love to hopefully do this again after the season is over. We'll have some talks, see if we're going to come back for this. Hopefully have you guys on board with us. And big thank you to GoGo Gear, GCR Simulator, Hinks Filtration, My Team Rookie Esports, Thomas, Austin, David, Tom, everybody that showed up. Thank you all for showing up.
Appreciate the kind words, and hopefully we'll see you in the near future. That was the 4th place finisher of Nick Dawson-Lathan.
That marks the end of what's been a fantastic road on the track. There's all your sponsor logos back up there. I had them ready in clutch. It's been a fun journey, been a fun season. We'd love to see them again. As previously mentioned, the real series actually kicks off pretty much almost immediately on the next week. Tomorrow at Summit Point, I believe, is when the weekend begins. Final Drive TV, I've been told, is a YouTube channel that will be showing content from the races. It may not be live, but you'll be able to catch coverage after the fact. You can go take a look and see some of these drivers, plus many others in quite affordable, fun machines. Any last thoughts on the season?
That was a great race. The 2 races that I was in, to be able to watch the diversity of these drivers at these tracks, you could definitely see there was definitely a kind of a split in the field, but when those drivers were close, they put on some great clean battles, and hopefully we get to cover some more of these races in the near future, because that was really exciting.
Well, I'd like to thank you, as ever, for tuning into this presentation from Maconi Entertainment. Being Howie Burrows alongside I almost called you somebody else. I had to save myself, alongside Jeremy Briggs, to wrap up the season. Plenty more on this channel to watch. Of course, we have if you like yellow flags, we've got a full-length Cup Challenge in Friday Night Light Series at Martinsville this weekend. Going to be an absolute thrill ride. We're going to see a lot of things happen to cars in some way or another. And there's plenty more to tune in to the channel for over the course of the year. Thank you very much for